Good afternoon and welcome to Ask the Expert, Transforming Medicine with Biopharmaceutical Sciences. I'm Millie Sullivan. I'm the Alvin B. and Julie O. Stiles Professor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. And it's really a great pleasure to be with you here this afternoon and to facilitate our session with today's expert. And with that, it's really a great pleasure to introduce Dr. Marie Pinizzotto, the former Senior Director of Global Safety Surveillance and Epidemiology at Wyeth LLC, current President and CEO of the Carol A. Ammon Foundation, focused on healthcare and education. And also she was the former President and CEO of Drug Safety Solutions, a pharmacovigilance and risk management consulting company, as well as holding a number of other really impressive positions throughout her career. So I want to give a couple of other comments on some of Marie's sort of career accomplishments. She's actually an accomplished physician, also a generous philanthropist. She's had a long-standing involvement with UD. She's served on, for example, the President's Leadership Council since 2012, and she was a member of the College of Health Sciences Advisory Council from 2014 to 2018. Moreover, in 2008, she actually received a Master's of Business Administration from the university, so she's a true blue hen in every sense of the word. A couple of other things. Maria is also a trustee at Christiana Healthcare Systems, where the endowed chair of obstetrics and gynecology is actually named in her honor. She's a past member there of the Quality and Safety Committee, also is a member of the board at Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage, California, while also sitting on numerous other foundation boards, rounding out just an incredible set of service activities. I'll comment on some other specific ones. So Marie participates on the Scientific Steering Committee on Personalized Medicine for the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. She's also a member of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the Medical Society of Delaware, and a former member of the American Pain Society, as well as a member of the Massachusetts General Hospital Leadership Council for Psychiatry since 2008. And really bringing things close to home, Marie shares a lifelong passion and real dedication to healthcare with her wife, Carol Ammon. In fact, their passion has fueled some really impactful generosity. We were able to celebrate just last week with a building dedication. And really this generosity is felt not just at UD, but throughout the healthcare industry and also the state. And so building on that, Marie and Carol, as supporters of the College of Health Sciences, then in 2017 made that transformational gift that led to our recent building dedication, then establishing the Ammon Pinizzotto Biopharmaceutical Innovation Center, known as AP Bio for short, on UD's Star Campus. And so with that, it's just a great pleasure to have you with us here today, Marie, so welcome.
Thank you, Millie, and thank you for that introduction because wow, I actually sounded important. It's an honor for me to be here, and about Ask the Expert, I'm not sure how much of an expert I am, but again, I thank you for inviting me to participate.
Well, we're delighted to have you, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So I thought I would start things off just with a kind of a big picture question, which is that I'm hoping you can tell us and really introduce yourself further to the audience from your perspective, telling us about, in particular, your career trajectory, and especially given this sort of topic of the day, your roles, your numerous roles in the pharma and biopharmaceutical industry.
So that will be easy. That's I have a passion for science, and I pursued a chemistry degree at the University of Pittsburgh, went to medical school at Jefferson, and did my residency at Christiana in obstetrics and gynecology. Subsequently, I stayed in Delaware and practiced for 10 years. And delivering babies gets tiresome. So by fluke, a headhunter called the office and said they were looking someone for a pharmaceutical industry that was a healthcare professional in specifically women's healthcare. So I interviewed at Wyeth, I got the job in something called Global Safety and Surveillance, which I was like, okay. And basically it's drug safety where you monitor adverse events of drugs, take patients' report to the FDA, collate the data for, again, the FDA and look for trends and safety trends. So it was a fascinating job. And then subsequently I got my MBA and then I started my own company, which was Drug Safety Solutions, where I consulted a number of companies for their drug safety risk management, and even was going to participate in an advisory board at the FDA to represent a pharmaceutical company. So it was just rounding everything out with pharma. So it was good.
Oh, that's wonderful. I was thinking as you were talking about a few things. One is, you have a really, I think, unique background in terms of the ways that you've gone from training as a physician, practicing as a physician, and then being able to translate that into just this really successful career within different roles, as you mentioned, in the pharma and biopharma industry. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit, thinking about your leadership as a physician and how that has been a unique perspective that you can bring into then leadership moving forward into Wyeth, drug safety solutions, and those sorts of things.
I kind of did it the right way, I think. So by providing patient care, I was on the receiving end of all the drugs that pharmaceutical companies made, right? So I could prescribe my patients medications and write scripts, but never really thought how I got these drugs, right? Not until I went to pharma did I get all the time that went into research and development and, again, safety measures of these drugs. So then I had the full perspective from being a clinician. So I'm also being a patient too, right? Receiving drugs, to being the person that wrote the package inserts that no one ever read as a physician, except the important parts, to now reading every package insert from front to back because I know how much time got put in to write them. And so it was a good perspective. Now I feel like I have the whole 360 of how medicines get to you, from prescribing them, taking them, and developing them. And post-marketing surveillance of their adverse effects. It was
Yeah,
good.
well, no, it's really interesting, and I was thinking too that you've also, while doing that, this has been a navigation that obviously will take years, and also while that's been going on, then the pharmaceutical industry has changed simultaneously, and so I have a couple of questions I was thinking about related to that, with one being, when you think about sort of the big picture, first of all, of the industry, especially, let's say, that the last 5 to 10 years, even the last few years, frankly, there's all these changes. And I wonder if you can comment on some of the things that you see as the most exciting directions the industry is taking recently, especially.
Well, recently, let's start with the COVID vaccine, right? Pharma went up to a fast level of getting something done. Like, pharma companies are big, and there's a lot of balances and checks that go on. So it's hard, and it takes a long time to get a drug from when you discover it to market, right? 10, 12 years. But getting a COVID vaccine, I think pharma came up and just really stepped up to the plate to get the COVID vaccine with the technology they had. I think the most exciting thing that's happening for pharma, biopharma, is personalized medicine, targeted medicines, monoclonal antibodies. I mean, we have our own Eric Kimmick who's doing CRISPR, gene editing. So I think these are all new and exciting. CAR T therapies. I think, the biologics that are coming. I think it's going to be a very exciting time. And for cancer patients with, genomics and, again, targeted therapies, right medication at the right time for the right patient is going to be a game changer in patients' lives.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I had a couple questions building then on some of what you said there. The one I wanted to start with of those is to sort of bring back then some of your comments on these changes recently to your training and your work in terms of sort of pharmacovigilance and risk management. So I'm wondering, we have all these, not just new products now coming out, and you mentioned some that have already burst onto the market, such as a number of the vaccines we've seen, the mRNA vaccines, some that are on the cusp of getting there, right? So a lot of those precision medicines are, some are there and some are almost there. And so I wondered, I think those are incredibly exciting advances, and I imagine that there are some unique aspects to that risk management piece and planning with respect to how to roll those out. And I wondered if you could comment on that. I know you've spent a lot of time advising others on how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've done it, but I think, what we're going to wait to see is as people report adverse events, as you've seen them on the news from the side effects of the vaccine. And to be truthful, with the number of patients that have received a vaccine and the incidence of some of these, I think the post-marketing reports that are coming in will give us a lot more information on the short-term, long-term effects of the vaccine, if there are any. And with all drugs we're going to be making, the post-marketing, I think at this point, once it hits the market, because you have the finite time in clinical trials, I think the post-marketing reporting and the adverse events and the VAERS for the vaccines, their adverse event reporting system, I think that's where we'll see where what I did come into play as we start seeing the periodic reports given to the FDA. And this is worldwide, right? So we have all the safety countries putting their data in one database.
Yeah. So it becomes a data management and analysis problem too. I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So
that's where the companies take all the data from all the countries and get to collate it to make sense of it, which is great.
Yeah. I wanted to then also, thinking about, and data has reminded me of this next question. So that reminds me, I suppose, because I'm an engineer, of thinking about education and learning some of the newest and latest things in different topics. And I asked that because, or I wanted to pivot to that because I know both you and Carol have, after launching successful careers, gone back and gotten additional degrees. So for example, your MBA from UD in 2008. And so I wanted to ask a bit more about your decision to go back and do more training, and really just thinking about, how do you view kind of the interface between education and career development? How can you use one to fuel the other, or vice versa?
Yeah, that's a good question, Millie. My grandfather always said to me, people can take things away from you, but they can never take your education. He said, the more education you got, the better off you would be. And this is a man who had a third grade education. So I've always been in science. And when I was starting my own company, I thought I should get a business degree because perhaps this will help me. So I got the MBA, and generally physicians are terrible business people. And that's because we really have not been exposed to it. So it was fascinating, economics, finance, marketing. And I have to say, the MBA helped me in many ways. One, the finance committee I sit on, Christiana, the boards I sit on. So now just instead of looking at all the science aspect, now I can look at the budget sheets and fiscally, are the institution I'm sitting on, nonprofit or otherwise, are we making the best of our funds? And so it's really helped. So it's good to do different things. So I think from a career standpoint, the MBA, again, you can never hurt, added on to all the science. So it was a wonderful education. New and hard.
Yeah. Well, I think being challenged is a way to bring out the best in yourself. And so, I think that makes a lot of sense. I have one maybe kind of a, last question I wanted to sort of think or throw into the mix in terms of your career trajectory. It was something I found really interesting. You've taken risks in your career at times when you were already successful. And certainly pursuing an education after you're already successful is one type of risk, but another is, jumping from being a physician to being at Wyeth, and then B, then another one from being at Wyeth to then starting your own company. And I wondered if you could just comment on what has fueled your decision to have the courage to take a risk at some of those moments.
Wait, I haven't really thought about that, but change is good, I think.
Yeah.
As you said, I don't want to stay stagnant, and every career built on another, right? So I had the healthcare background with, being a physician, going into pharmacovigilance and a pharmaceutical company, and then the business degree. So the next logical step is, why don't you do your own company? You have all the knowledge you need to start your own and be successful. And it worked out. I started doing very well and getting calls from a lot of people. So yeah, and you have to try. I think there's no success without failure. I think I stole that from Bill Gates. But anyway, I think if you don't try and don't fail something, I don't think you work as hard the next time. So that's what
Yeah.
I think you just have to keep challenging yourself. Next, I'm going to become a biomedical engineer like you, Millie.
No, I was gonna thank you that for the compliment, but also I think the comments you made are spot on, and they resonate with the types of things that we tell our students every day in the classroom here at Delaware. So, and so that actually then brings me a little closer back to home, which is thinking about Delaware and getting back to the decision that you and Carol Ammon made to make that gift to Delaware in order to name the Ammon Pinizzotto Biopharmaceutical Innovation Center, AP Bio, as we were discussing last week. And I wondered if you could tell us more about your inspiration to do that, to make that gift.
Well, I think, to be truthful, it wasn't a hard decision, and I'll tell you why. One, Carol and I have been in healthcare our whole life, whether it's pharma, like I did healthcare physician first, then pharma. Carol did pharma, then became a nurse afterwards. So we've been in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. When President Asanas and Dr. Lee, Kelvin Lee, came to our house to present what they wanted to do, I hate to say it, it was a no-brainer. And we thought, this is a fantastic idea. And everything he discussed with us, the University of Delaware is a great institution. So you have an academic center of excellence. Then to bring in pharma and research and manufacturing and private and public companies, everything he was talking about already on the STAR campus, which we contributed to the STAR with Kathy Matt, the Dean of the Healthcare Sciences there. It was pretty much like, wow, this is just going to be another great addition to the university. But what it was doing, not the building, the occupants of the building, really were going to make a difference. And the presentation, and Dr. Asanas, I have to say, is a visionary. And when he presented it and when they left, I mean, I think we knew then and there we were in. And now seeing the building, listening to other lectures, or Charlie Reardon talking that night at the dedication, there's so much more going on there than we even knew about, that, I think our decision was a very, very good decision. And I'd just like to point out that is the biopharma building behind me. Thank you, Dr. Sanas. And I'm wearing my lovely longitudinal latitude necklace of the building as well.
Wonderful. And for those in the audience,
there's gifts, yes.
I'll just let the audience know that the latitude and longitude of the building then are then inscribed onto the necklace that Marie is wearing right now, which is exciting. So that leads me to my last question, and then I know we actually have a number of audience questions I'd like to save some time for. So my last question is to launch from the, sort of where we just left off with the building dedication. And I wanted to ask, with this new building and with the university being, of course, positioned right next to it, what are you hoping will be some of the most exciting impacts of the building and the fact that it's then co-localized in Delaware?
So I think the name says it all, biopharma innovation. And I think innovation is the key word. And bench to bedside is something that we talk about all the time at the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation or in healthcare. How do you take this to get it to patients? And pharma companies aren't nimble, and I hate to say that, except for the COVID vaccine. This gives patients an opportunity to get much needed drugs at a lot quicker than they could from waiting for big pharma. And I think the manufacturing aspect there, who you're going to have there, the researchers, like I said, the university has a great academic reputation. So you having academics, really you, Kelvin, everybody in one center that is going to pardon my English here, collaborate and make things happen, I think, quicker. I think it benefits the state of Delaware because we're going to provide jobs. It benefits people. benefits the university, and I think the location's good. You're close to DC, you're close to Philadelphia, where major pharma companies are. And I mean, yeah, so I think it covers a lot of areas that other places maybe wouldn't cover because the university is there with this innovation center. It has a lot of, I don't want to say amenities, but access to other areas that other places may not have.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I think we're all just.
Let me make sure I didn't forget any good points here.
Yeah, of course.
Again, a world-class educational institution and the leadership that's going to, you know, make this place work. And I guess not the building, it's the occupants of the building.
Well, we're grateful to be able to have partnered with you and Carol, I think, throughout the launch of that building. So certainly, I think thanks again for that wonderful support. And I want to, we have a little time left. Yeah.
I just want to say one thing, and I said this at the dedication. We are honored and blessed to be a part of this innovation center and the University of Delaware. I mean, Carol and I talk about it, and I think this will make a difference to healthcare, to students, providing, you know, students that can get degrees in pharmaceutical, and, you know, we're very happy to be part of this. So we thank you for the opportunity as well. And President Asanas for coming to us. So.
Oh, well, I think we're very blessed to have you as part of the team. So I think there are many students listening today, so they'll be excited to hear your story. I actually have a couple questions from the audience, and so I'll share those just in our last few minutes. The first question I have is, and this is in fact from a student, so do you have any advice for biomedical engineering graduate students who want to pursue a career in the pharmaceutical industry?
Wow. Millie, you're the biopharmaceutical engineer. I think it's a great degree. I think there'll be many opportunities for jobs in pharma or biopharma. And as a matter of fact, I was Googling Nimble just to get a better grasp of it. And there's a video on there from Dr. Lee, and it talks about a biopharmaceutical engineer and how the engineers take part in the equipment and what's manufacturing this drug. So I think maybe you, as with your degree, can answer that as well, Millie, but I think it's a perfect degree to have in many aspects. Millie, you're the engineer.
Yeah. No, wonderful. I think right. So those hands-on opportunities with the production equipment combined with then that insight into, as you've been talking about, the sort of the medical problems is a really neat interface. So I have a second question from the audience, and so this is just as you described how countries can cooperate in terms of collecting adverse events data for therapeutics. Do you think the COVAX initiative can be made permanent to make equitable distribution of vaccines and critical medications more straightforward globally? So I can repeat that if it was a long question.
It's an interesting question. I'm not sure I can answer that. But wherever the vaccine gets distributed, as it should, to other countries, we'll keep track of all. I mean, you have to keep track of the adverse events. So I'm not sure how. Again, the distribution, I don't know how they're going to distribute it, but it will be monitored. So I think that's good because every population has different issues. So I think that's a good way to watch it.
Yeah.
Sort of, you know.
I think I have time for one or possibly two last audience questions. And so one I wanted to bring out from the audience is related, but sort of a broad question, which is how has COVID-19 impacted the biopharmaceutical industry in the past few years? And so we talked a bit before about that, but if you could comment further on how you've seen this pandemic change then the drug production process.
Yeah, and pharma, as I said, it's not always a fast process. And what COVID has done, it has made companies work together and work faster for a health crisis, right? For a public health crisis. And I think it prompted them, again, instead of going at normal speed, to go at jet speed for the greater good of the public. So I must say, I think it helped. I do think it helped it. And mRNA has been around for a while. They were looking at it for some cancers. So I think it took what they had and moved them forward to use some of the technology and what they had developed other treatments. So in a way, it sort of helped move us forward faster, sadly.
Yeah, yeah. Bringing a technology that was almost there across the line, in effect, right? So by the various aspects of funding and collaboration. Now, that's exciting. Um, I think we are just about out of time. I want to actually end on a final question from the audience. We have just a minute or two to cover that, and then I think we'll be just reaching the end of our period. So the final question that I will ask from the audience is, what are your greatest hopes for the AP Bio Center's impact on UD and the industry?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the impact on the UAD will be great. I think it will raise our academic standards higher. I think for the industry, I'm hoping we have some great discoveries, and I think we will. I think it will help cancer patients. I think we'll get drugs to bedside faster. I think we're going to make a big impact in healthcare. And once people and other companies see this, I think they'll want to be a part of it. So I think in the long run, it's going to be, again, a game changer. I hate to use that word again, but I think ultimately it's going to help healthcare and patients. I mean, right, the end game is patients and public health. And that's what we're striving for, better public health and better treatments.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was a great answer, and also I think a really nice way to close out a session that's highlighted you bringing things in your career together from different experiences in different parts of the biopharmaceutical industry and healthcare field, and then to the ways that sort of this new wave of development, partly headquartered at UD, and your name will be able to do that as well. So with that, I want to close our session. Yeah, thank you so much. And I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Marie, I hope you enjoyed the conversation certainly as much as I did, and that the audience, I know they did. Yeah, this has been wonderful, and I hope everyone will consider joining us for the next live event on Ask the Expert, Transforming Medicine with Biopharmaceutical Sciences. And with that, I wanted to thank Marie again sincerely for a wonderful conversation, and thank everyone for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Millie, and thank you everybody who came.
Thanks so much.